Hey, 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 welcome. I don't know about no countdown. I don't know how it normally is. You know what? Before we even get into everything, no, all jokes aside, welcome. Welcome now, welcome later. We are live. just in case, just in case the co-host is wondering what the fuck just happened. We are live.
It's okay. I got
You know,
you.
before we start talking about topics and all the other type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
every single time we could be like 2 hours ready in advance. We're
You've
sitting
been
here
sitting there.
shooting the
Yes.
shit, and then all of a sudden something happens, and I don't know, the computer freezes. I don't have something, a cat. I don't even have a cat. Something happens.
You're not a
So
cat. You
no, I
can't remove
don't.
the fact
You
that you
get what
don't
I'm
have
saying?
here.
I don't.
No, stop it.
It's always something. Well, people coming in, welcome to Unfiltered and Intentional. Thank you for tuning in now, later, tomorrow, while you got nothing to do, while you're
Exactly.
upset with this fucking world. Once again, I am so sorry that the usual intro was not there, but hey, shit
Actually,
happens.
you know what? Yeah, I thought you did that on purpose. It was the most calm, soothing intro ever. Like I
Well,
felt
maybe we needed that because at the end of the
maybe
day, we
either.
don't
Yeah.
have enough time to sit, and be calm and still and collective because there's too much shit going on uh, in the United States of America. So,
Full facts.
with
Yes.
that being said, it's so much going on. Where do we tackle? But the hottest story today is talking about those tariffs. So, for those who do not know what a tariff is, for those who heard about it and is just like, what the hell is all this, or whatever the case may be, the most simplest terms is it's a tax
It's a
that's
tax.
put on by a country, the country's government,
It is a
and they
tax.
place on the goods that
Mm-hmm.
are imported from other countries.
Okay.
So, with that being said, so I'm
You said it was
country
a tax?
A. Oh, go ahead.
You said it was a tax?
It's a tax.
It's a tax.
Tax.
I thought Republicans didn't like taxes.
Well, it is a tax.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
I go ahead and meet.
I'm trying
So
to keep
so
up.
so so Liz basically is in country A. I'm on country B.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, you know what? I got this steel over here, so you could go ahead and make your products. And you like, hey, I got this tobacco, so y'all can go ahead and smoke your stuff. And we over here doing different, import, export
Dealing
type
and
of thing.
dealing.
We're
Okay.
taxing each
I'm
other.
keeping up. I'm keeping up. Uh-huh.
And we're taxing each other. Within all that, who
Mm-hmm.
ends up paying for this tax? About 90% of the time, the consumer does. When the consumer is going grocery shopping, when the person that's the contractor needs to go buy that steel and make those buildings or whatever they're doing, or somebody wants to get that tobacco we talked about, whatever that product is, the consumer is the one who's going to be feeling it. The actual business, excuse me, the business that's buying the items. Then the business go ahead and produces those items, and they're like, wait, our overhead is flying out of the roof. Oh my God, I can't
But to
afford
pass it
this.
on to somebody.
They're gonna shit rolls downhill, as they say. So with that being said, because I had to pay so much and I can't put fuel in my jet, and I still want to have my private flight in my private jet, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna quote JD Vance. He says the peasants will have to pay for them. I said, what the hell? What did he call the pet? Now he wasn't talking about Americans. He was talking about Asians specifically, the Asian peasants. He said, I said, I cannot believe he said this. I mean, you could have said anything else, but I think those are just trigger words, huh?
You can't believe JD Vance said something
Well,
ridiculous.
I'll say this. No, I couldn't believe it. You know what it is? Because
I
it gets worse and worse. Because I went ahead and just explained to you
mm,
exactly what a tariff was and who it affects, and shit rolls downhill. I didn't call nobody no peasant. I didn't say nobody no slave. I didn't say some servant. But of course, he uses trigger words. So with that being said, as soon as Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, he kind of told you what he was going to do.
mm,
He was in the process of implementing it, and then he kind of slowed down. He wanted to talk to some car dealerships, and different things of that nature. He was talking, trying to make negotiations with Canada, and he kind of slowed some things down. It was Canada and Mexico. Okay, T for timeout. Go ahead.
he was negotiating with Canada.
Well, I don't want to say he slowed it down because he was going to initially implement the tariffs earlier.
Okay.
And then he said, hey, we're going to do it officially April the 2nd. So that's when it all hell broke loose. The stock market and Wall Street reported that they lost $6 trillion in 2 days.
Hmm.
Now they had some anchor news journalists on Fox News stating that I don't care if my 401k tanks. Who cares? I believe in this president. I believe in his mission, and by all means, we're going to ride it to the wind. Now, if you're a millionaire, you may not care about your 401k. So it's easy for you to say that.
A lot of millionaires don't have 401ks. To be clear.
Yes, yes.
That's not a millionaire thing. That's not a millionaire class issue, to be honest with you.
Yes, and you make up a good point. A lot of people do not have 401ks. A lot of people are not saving in the stock market and different IRAs and all these different things that you have in portfolios for their retirement and just even investments in general. How are you feeling? How's the audience feeling about this big thing that just happened? Because of course, right now, price of eggs are still high and they're the same. You haven't seen that increase now, but just in a general sense, how are you feeling?
Stressed the fuck out.
Okay, be honest.
Okay, I'm sorry. I could have been nicer. I'm a little uneasy, Kia.
Okay, and why is that?
Okay. First of all, I think that for some reason everybody has forgotten, the people that like him and the people that don't like him, the last time that he was in office, we also experienced a severe hit to the economy, and it impacted literally everything. You had to make lines to get into grocery stores. You had to have lines going through the grocery stores and so on and so forth. We don't like to talk about COVID like it was a Donald Trump problem, but it was a Donald Trump problem. It happened under Donald Trump, right? We gave him a pass because it was a pandemic and, shit happens. It was worldwide and yada, yada, yada. But the last time that this happened, he did not handle it well. And he was the exact same person in office that's now going out of his way to create another situation where we're heading towards long lines for groceries, and we're heading towards, people not being able to complete the homes that they started, or going into bankruptcy because they've lost their jobs, or and by the way, if you want to even take Donald Trump out of it, and I very seldom even say his name, but at this point, fuck it, right? The next thing is, before that, the last time that we had a recession that hit us this hard was under Bush, another fucking Republican. They're not good at this, and every time they do it, we suffer. And I mean, especially we suffer, but like the country as a whole really suffers. Like the recession of 2008, that was when whole malls were closing. All those jobs were lost. They never came back, right? When you think about COVID, a lot of businesses closed, a lot of restaurants, what was left of retail. I mean, there's things that are.
Well, I'm going to stop you real quick just to play devil's advocate, just to play devil's advocate for any independents out there, or some people that happen to have voted for Trump. So when they had the housing market crash and everybody was like, oh, going crazy about it, and lots of people lost their homes. A lot of people blame Barack Obama for bailing out the banks, and helping them instead of giving that money to the people.
The recession itself happened during that administration. The next person that comes in the office will be a Democrat, and they'll bail us out again, and we're not going to appreciate the way that everybody got bailed out. But at the end of the day, it'll be a Democrat that's going to bail somebody out, and chances are they're going to bail out the big banks, and they're going to bail out the big auto companies, and they're going to bail out everybody else, and the rest of us are going to be sitting around in paddles with our hands trying to figure it out, right? So we're not even talking about the how to get out of it. We're talking about why are we in it? Right? How do we get in these situations over and over with these same people and act surprised every time it happens?
Well, there's a clip of Donald Trump talking about, and I wish I knew the exact clip where it came from. So please don't quote me like, okay, where it came from. But basically he was saying that during the time of recession is the best time to become a millionaire. Because that's when you're able to make these investments and buy and buy and buy. So of course, when we're looking at it, there will be some people who are going to come out rich from all this, and we'll see them on their yachts, and we'll see them, hey guys. But the majority of people will suffer. The thing that I see coming in the near future or present day, because when he started this, I think the Republicans were basically saying like, hey, when we have this list of countries that we want to put these tariffs on, there are going to be people that fold. Yes, the big countries are like, nah, we're not doing this. As we've seen China put a 34% on that ass, like, oh, right back at you. But they're
Yeah.
going to be smaller countries that, you know what, free trade all the way. And that's what he was banking on. And there's talks right now that the Philippines and their other small nations are thinking about this. And it seems like, once again, they're going to cave to Donald Trump. Before we continue, I do want to hit the comments. Hello to everybody out there.
So, all right, we have Gemini Love commenting. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Bankruptcy himself, ain't nothing new about this. What business has he ever had that wasn't run into the ground? That's what they wanted, though, was the CEO.
But if you think about businessmen, a lot of businessmen have so many bankruptcies and run companies into the ground, run it all up, get everything out of that enterprise that they can, and then move on and sell it and move on, or whatever they can. And that's how they're able to make more money. And I think, a lot of people like the fact that Donald Trump is a businessman, in a general sense, but he's running America as this was like some type of fucking, industrial plant. Because meaning that he's grabbing all of the resources out. He's going to put us bankrupt, basically.
Yeah, if it was an industrial plant, at least they stick around for a while. This is more like a monarchy. Like, I don't know if you ever watched any of those TV, like the Tudors or anything like that, where they have the king at the court, and then everybody comes down the alley and they're like begging, please, Mr. King, please, King, let me have my land back. I'll give you my daughters, and then like weird stuff like that. That's kind of it's more like that than any kind of business ever.
Well, I know you mentioned that, but some people of his court have been changing sides. Senator Rand Paul, the senator from Kentucky, he's proposing a bill that would actually require the president to get congressional approval instead of him just, willy-nilly signing off on things. Now,
that's the crazy thing here is that he does need congressional approval, except that he has declared a state of emergency. And then frozen Congress. So Mike Johnson has frozen Congress for the rest of this entire year, ever since.
I did not know that.
It is, they wrote into, somehow, I don't even know how this is a thing. For the life of me, I'm not a legal scholar at all. So if anybody knows how to explain it, please do, right? But Mike Johnson, in January, right around the same time that he took office, knowing that this was going to come, like maybe not this specifically, but, the challenges and everything else, said that for the rest of the entire year, it is just one day in Congress. And the reason they do that is because there are certain types of bills and votes that they can put if they propose a bill, they have to vote on it within 24 hours or 48 hours, different requirements. Mm-hmm. So if it's the same day for the rest of the year, then the date on the calendar never changes, and therefore they never have to bring it to a vote. I can't understand it. I can't. Right. And so Cash said they are saying the same thing. They were saying the same thing during COVID. Losing global dominance is worse than losing money in your 401k or dying from COVID.
Yeah, they are saying the same things, the same trend.
And so, Earl pointed out there's no tariffs to Russia.
You know what? Thank you, Earl, for letting me know that. I did not know that. I thought he with the pen was like, everybody. No. I didn't look at the whole entire list.
No, not Russia. Also, to be fair, not North Korea, but we don't do any business with them anyway. But Russia is exempt from the list. As a matter of fact, since he took office again in January 20th, they've actually removed a lot of tariffs. And
wow, because it was a lot of sanctions that Biden put on.
So they've actually been lifting the sanctions and most certainly did not impose any tariffs at all. And Russia will re-enter this conversation. But let's get to the next comment. Sin said Republicans aren't good at this is an understatement. The GOP doesn't do these types of moves to help us. They do it to help themselves. This tariff thing isn't some strategic move. It's just to cause chaos and then privatize companies through the chaos.
It's interesting you said that. It made me think about one new thing that they've been trying to privatize and they're going to is the TSA. And it kind of is another segue. And so what we're talking, well, you know what? It's so funny because right before the show started, we're having our own private conversation and we're like, man, I just want to take a vacation and get away. There's so much going on. And of course you got the planes that are acting up, but at the same time, we still fly, we still travel. We haven't stopped that. Right. Mm-hmm. And traveling has gotten a little bit tighter now. So if you plan on, and this is for cruise ships, because I was like, well, maybe I'm going to take a cruise instead. So if you have a passport, if you are trying to go out of the country, and you're trying to get back into the United States, it's not a simple thing now that they look at your documents and look at your face and, ask you a question or two. You got any goods here, whatever. They actually are taking your phone.
Yep.
They are taking people's phones, and they're looking through the phone. And it's interesting because this show, as I speak, would be something that would be anti his administration.
Correct.
The people on this show, the people that make the comments. Now, granted, some people use their full name. Some people just put, hey, it's me. But at the end of the day, and I didn't even know an algorithm runs it, but Liz was like, oh, no, that's an algorithm. So basically, they look at your social media site, and they have an algorithm that runs through it to see what the hell you've been talking about. And in some cases, people have been being held right there in their tracks and are not able to go back into the United States.
Yep.
So it's making us, even if for people listening or people that you may know, that's like, oh, this is not, I'm sitting my ass down. And I say that because April 5th was a nationwide protest.
Yep.
People were protesting everywhere about all types of topics that were affecting this administration. I've seen a lot of TikTok and social media posts where Black people were just like, that's their march. We had our time. The 92%, we voted. Y'all didn't listen. Oh, well, it's not our business. Well, I want to let you know, and I'm sorry to pop that cherry, but at the end of the day, it is your business, because if you like to catch flights and not feelings, and when you go out that country to come back in and they see that you're making comments and you're saying this, that, and a third, you can potentially be held where you're at. So I would just make the suggestion that if you are planning to go somewhere, let's just say you want to go somewhere in the month of June, start now. Start now, not using your full government name. Start now, deleting things and hiding things, because, having an algorithm check that shit is a whole different conversation versus some person looking through your phone. And isn't that unconstitutional to confiscate my fucking phone?
To go through your stuff without a warrant?
We already know that there's a level of checking, because we do random checks. You might be bringing, Lady Cocaine bringing some cocaine from Colombia, some bullshit. But I'm talking about the simple phone.
But your phone, no.
And now you're looking at what type of topics that I'm talking about. Is it anti-Trump and his administration, anti-Doge? So this is really getting real serious here.
Things are getting more than wild. It's really out there. Talking about is Key and Liz going to El Salvador, not voluntarily, for the record.
Yeah. And we're going to hold off on that one, because we were also going to be talking about missing people and how people just getting snatched off the street.
That's another one of those. Put that one back on the list. We'll come back.
Yeah. Let's see what Earl got to say.
Earl said, I'm marked already. I can't say boo without getting banned. Earl, don't say boo.
You know what? I'm going to say the same thing to you. I was talking to my mother. Hold on. I was talking to my mother this morning, and I don't know what it was, but she was like, oh, send it through me some social media. I was like, no, I can't. I'm banned again. She was like, what, again? Like, what? No, I just think. I was like, no, I constantly get banned. I promise you, somebody's flagging me all the time
on the screen, and they're like, "Oh, there she is, blinking." And
but you know what? By the grace of God, I'm still being able to do this. Like I said, I was mentioned. They did pull us to the side. I don't know if you remember that, when COVID time came, and they was like, "You cannot talk about the who." The what, the where. Yeah, you cannot talk anything anti-COVID, like anti-vaccine. And I'm like, oh, wow. So, and it wasn't like we were doing misinformation. We were just hearing other people's opinions and how do you feel. So, yeah, when the man is watching, and the man is really watching.
I mean, but here's what's so interesting about that, Kia. Going back to the World Health Organization and things like that. Here's what I don't, and I continuously say I don't understand, because I'm truly mystified. All right. So how is it that Republicans and MAGA supporting people can support this notion that you are not allowed to speak against this person or against this administration? These are the same people, by the way, that were questioning the last administration and the vaccines and the who and the what, you know what I mean, and everything else, right? Those people under these ideas would have been in jail in El Salvador. You know what I mean? And it was fine for them to speak out against the last administration. They could talk about, he was senile. They could talk about the vaccines. They could talk about the hoaxes. They can talk about a lot of things. Those same people under this type of rule of law or lack thereof would literally be in jail.
And you know what? I'm going to say something that really bothers me. That is one thing I get upset about the Democratic Party, is because even though the Republican Party may not like them and they can't believe they did this and oh my God, they have balls. And when I mean they just, and I don't want to say the balls to be corrupt, but whatever I want, I'm getting it done. I don't care. This is what it is. And for us, we always play it safe. Like when Chuck Schumer, we talked about it last time when he said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and pass this bill. So, and fund the government, this and third. A lot of Democrats was like, yo, we wanted somebody to put up the fight. Nancy Pelosi ended up saying, like, I don't trade and get nothing back. Like, I need something in return. I mean, so with that being said, when I told you that Senator Rand Paul was going to go ahead and propose a bill because Congress has to approve, Congress has to do a lot of things. And Donald Trump is like, fuck them, and just sign it and fuck them.
And the judges are saying you can't do that. And he's like, I can't.
But that's the thing. We constantly hear about judges saying, you know what, this is unethical. Bring those planes back. Do it like this. Here we go. And nothing's happening.
Like, no.
Who cares what the judge is saying? Yes, bring these people back. No one's being brought back. No one's listening to the courts. No one's listening to what the actual Constitution is doing. So now when you say, man, I'm perplexed about what's going on, if I can silence a person, if I can shut off your education, if I can stop your reading, if I can stop the education and the constant conversations that we're having, there's nothing to see here, folks. Yes. Keep going about what you're doing and let us run the country the way we want to. So what are we going to do, people? That's the question. So let's go to this comment here.
Yes. Trump has been doing most of this destruction because he declared various national emergencies. We apparently were in a state of emergency. We're at war with like every country. The tariffs, that's a war, right? It's a trade war, right? That's one thing. We're going to get back to the immigration side of things. Apparently, we're using the Enemy of the State Act or something crazy like that, which basically says that we have an enemy that is invading us, which means every immigrant that's here from every country that they're now deporting, it's because those countries are deporting us. We are at war with everybody. I don't know if we realize that yet, but we are, on paper, at this moment, we are at war with the whole world, except Russia. We're not at war with Russia, but everybody else we're at war with. Is anybody getting the gravity of that? Just saying.
I was gonna say something crazy. Let me just go to the comment. You know what? Before you say that, I don't know, because the show's unfiltered and intentional, and sometimes I could be too unfiltered, and I'm like, oh, let me stop. Because we all got lives and stuff and people. So go ahead.
Oh gosh, Kia, don't disappear tonight, please. Kia, don't be disappearing.
I'm in El Salvador, y'all.
Listen, if I text you, I'm giving you about 3 hours to respond.
Women can't go to El Salvador. The women can't go to El Salvador, but the women can't go to El Salvador. They said
no. They said nah. They got
This is what I'm hearing, and this is some scary shit now. Mm-hmm. So we all know how ratchet the fucking Mississippi jails are, and how they're so, you wouldn't even send your dog there, your worst enemy, or whatever the case may be. They're uninhabitable. So it just so happens, and I have to look this up. Please, guys, if you're there, you could Google search it, whatever, before me. But I'm hearing that for people here in America that are not being sent overseas, they're grabbing people up and putting them in them jails.
In Louisiana.
And in Mississippi. And they're like, hey, no phone call. And now, mind you, some people are being held and there isn't no phone call. And there isn't. So you're getting kind of put up in the system.
No.
Like what the and just like this is really people, and we know about people getting kidnapped and sex trafficking and these. I'm not talking about some crazy man and trying to get his fix off and selling human beings. I'm talking about you say the wrong shit. I'm talking about you stand in the wrong protest and somebody with some scarf shit is rolling up on you.
And that's how it's happening right now. Yes. So Cash said, if anyone requests, then the House vote on keeping these emergencies within 3 days. Then the House votes on keeping these emergencies within 3 days. Mike Johnson made the rest of the year one congressional day to avoid voting on them to keep the emergency powers. What I'm not understanding is how he can just declare it one day.
Yeah, how does he have that power? Does anybody know that? That's a good question.
Has this ever been done before? Right? Why isn't this being challenged? Because I haven't heard, at least if I mean, there's so much to keep up with, but if it is being challenged, I haven't heard of it, right? But if that's the case, when they go to work tomorrow, is it still that same day? Like, how are we keeping track of it? How will history report this? How is this being documented in the archives? Like, I have, that's the biggest question I haven't been able to figure it out. And I've looked it up and I can't find anything. It's like it's a brick wall that I'm running into, and I don't know how to get past that. So
if anybody knows that, definitely fill us in, because she's gonna be asking that question all day. Like, how is it? How is it that he's getting
one day? Because if that's the case, people mad at me because I've been 28 since. We're not going to talk about that. It's been one day.
But once again, we are watching, and we've been saying this. We are in our own history story as we're speaking, because so many things that have not been done. And this is a great point right here. And I've always said it. Oh, you go ahead.
So welcome to the chat, Sandy. And so Steve Bannon already gave the plan in 2020. It was to overwhelm the system with everything possible so you can get things passed. Tanking the market is also another plan to make oligarchs more rich.
That was a part of the plan. 100%. Flooding the system was exactly his words. So much stuff happening all at once, you can't even keep up. I also want to let you know, Elon Musk, of course, is feeling it in the whole situation with losing money, supposedly 15.7 billion in funds, lost because of the different the protests and people just not wanting Tesla and these things. So he's stepping down in May. You won't be seeing him. That's bullshit. The algorithm and the people will still be doing the same job. Just because you don't see the face don't mean a damn thing. The face don't mean nothing. We didn't want to see the face to begin with, but
I think, honestly, with this whole Elon Musk thing, and this is not even conspiracy theory, this is just common sense if you think about it, right? We keep talking about these damn cars. Those cars have kind of already hit their threshold, and they've got competition, and everybody has electric cars now, and what it's like if people that are selling cell phones. Everybody that's going to have a phone already kind of has one. You know what I mean? And so, and it's kind of a market that's already been capped. Tesla wasn't his goal. It wasn't his goal here. Him losing money with Tesla is the least of his issues. He's the person that has the most Department of Defense contracts. I just said we are at war with everybody. Everybody knows nothing prints money like war does. And here we are out here, we're declaring all these wars, right? And we are shopping for a physical war. We are literally out here talking about we're going to take over Greenland. We're going to redraw the boundaries with Canada. We're doing everything we can to agitate the shit out of Mexico. We are out here shopping for wars. And the person that's holding the most DOD contracts, that is going to stand to make the most if we actually do decide that we're going to war, is this guy. So you driving a Tesla is so besides the point. He already made the money he needed to make from Tesla in order to put himself in the position that he's in now. Now what he's doing is looking for a war so that these contracts start paying out. He's in the DOD. If you notice, a couple of weeks ago, that was a story that lasted like 2 hours, and I don't know why we missed it. They were briefing him on our war plans with China, not the president, him. The president didn't even know he was going to get that briefing. Even that asshole was just like, why is he getting briefed on this?
I would love to hear from the audience to know, since all these things are happening so fast, especially in reference to people snatching people off the street and asking for papers like this is Hitler's back in office or some shit. what are we doing? And I want to skip Cash's comment real quick, but just to go with Earl's, this is something serious here. The workers are afraid.
ICE is hitting their churches.
And so we have, and you want to talk about that, Liz, people getting snatched up, American citizens,
green card holders, people that thought that they were here legally, that believed themselves to be here legally, that came to this country specifically for the freedoms. They came the way that, according to Republicans, they don't have a problem with all immigration. It's just the illegal immigrants that they had a problem with until yesterday, right? Now they have a problem with all immigrants, whether they say so or not. And the reason that we know that is because even if you went through the legal channels, you applied for a visa, you came here legally, you applied for a green card, you have a green card, whatever it is, they do not care. They are canceling your green cards. They are
stopping visas.
They're denaturalizing naturalized citizens. So there is no level to this, right? They even picked up a couple Native Americans saying that they mistook them for Mexicans. I don't know if you've seen that either. So on those border states where there's actual tribes of actual Native Americans, they're getting swept up in these raids too. Since when can we just grab up hundreds of people, if not thousands of people a day with no record? There's no logs of who's on these flights. There's no record whatsoever. Who's going, where they're going, nothing. Like if we thought that the children being separated from their families and being thrown into the, whatever they do with those kids, because we never even got to the bottom of that. This is so much worse, right? Because literally, Kia, you just mentioned that there's sex trafficking and everything else, right? So if you have a college-age kid that was to go out to a protest or even go out on a Saturday night and get stupid or whatever, right? Imagine if they get arrested or getting arrested and I'm being ridiculous. I'm making up something completely, right? But if you have a college-age kid, so somebody that's 21, 22 years old and they're drinking, they happen to get arrested. Let's even go with rightfully so. They're getting arrested because they thought they were about to drive drunk. And while they're getting arrested drunk, they say something like, fuck Donald Trump. That person literally could get disappeared off the face of the earth. And here you are calling the police. My kid didn't come home last night. The police cannot find your kid because there's no record of where your child went.
That's the scary part. But that's the scary part because right now, let's just say, because accidents always happen. I don't care who's running what. You like them, they don't like them. Accidents do happen. Oh, my bad. I arrested the wrong person. Oh, my bad. I heard this. But it's the fact of, now my constitutional rights are being violated. I'm being held without a phone call. You took this, I haven't eaten. You got me in these quarters here. They're not inhabitable. What's going on? I've been here now for days. I've been here now for weeks. I haven't talked to anyone. Okay, you finally get released. That's a great thing. But normally in a situation where someone gets locked up and now they're free, and thank God for that, you go to court, you sue. Yeah, you see the people outside. We sue, and we've got, $10 million now, because they messed up. There's no complaint office that you can go to and be like, I would like to put a formal complaint. Now locally, there's a complaint office, but it's not necessarily going up the ranks the way it should. So on paper, it looks like you could just write some type of stuff. Oh, I want to complain about this, or I want to sue. When you get tied up in litigations and stuff with the federal government, you're going to be sitting there for a certain time, because normally it would be some type of due process. But now these people are just kind of asked out. I want to go back to what Cash had said.
So Cash said they don't fight hard because Democratic leadership and donors are not for the things that the base wants.
It's interesting because, who funds the Democratic Party? And you'll have a lot of different businesses that do. And I think those businesses who run the country are not wanting to see a lot of pushback and a lot of fight, unfortunately. I think businesses are playing it really, really, they're watching the words. They're being very coy what they say, just because they don't want to be up in the spotlight. I know Target is losing all types of money. And there's talks of Target closing their stores because of what's going on. So yay for that. But yes, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that are going on and everybody's on eggshells.
Right. So Alice said, that's a great point. Crazy part is he's going to eat from every country for Starlink and so on, from Starlink and so on. We were talking about the Elon Musk and how much money he stands to be, to make. And so Leslie said, it's giving Handmaid's Tale.
If you guys haven't seen that show, you need to. If you don't know what it is, look at a clip on social media. But basically, what's happening here is basically what's happening in that show. It's kind of like they already knew what was about to come.
It's usually like that. So Cash said the congressional day was established as a rule passed in the continuing resolution that Schumer and 9 other Democratic senators voted for.
Really? I did not know that Schumer. I'm getting tired of Schumer. I don't know. Is the audience? Are y'all getting tired of him?
Well, all right. I'll say this. I've been tired of Schumer. However, this whole him voting on that continuing resolution for the budget limit, as much as it pissed people off, the biggest problem that Democrats have always had, that I've always said that they had, is that they do not know how to explain what they're doing and why they're doing it in a way that ordinary people can understand, right? On the one hand, you have these assholes, Elon and company, right, that want to defund, get rid of, shut down, break apart, extract the government, on the one hand, right? And they're doing it by firing people and so on and so on and so forth. And we don't like that. We're up in arms about that. On the other hand, what they could do is just allow us to hit that budget, like hit the budget ceiling, right? Which is what the fight is all about. In which case, the government will shut down. And then they get rid of the government, right? So you have everybody that wants government to continue and wants these people to stay employed and wants these people to continue to get paychecks. We're all in the middle. And it's a rock and a hard place. Either they can fire everybody and we can fight that, or we can continue the budget to at least keep these people working.
That's what Schumer's argument was. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. Don't you feel like the government is shut down to begin with? Federal workers, majority of federal workers are unemployed.
No, it's not the majority. It feels like it, but it is not the majority.
Well, let me correct my statement. Based on the location of where this federal building is, it can be the majority, like some Midwest agency or whatever, compared to. So they're out of luck. Then you have the Department of Education. You have basically Doge just coming through and just slicing with the chainsaw. And I mean, at the end of the day, are we saying what we have is a fucking government? It seems like it's a fucking chaos, like it seems crazy. I understand Schumer and you saying that, oh, it would have been worse. But at the same time, I mean, something that I do professionally, I negotiate. And when I negotiate, even though I know that this is what I want and I know what you want, I'm still gonna not just give up the very first time when we speak. Like, I'm not gonna just turn around and just like, all right, I'm gonna give it to you. There was no fight. There was no pushback.
Somebody that has nothing to lose.
But he could at least attempted.
But you're attempting what, right? And again, been over Schumer, so I'm definitely not defending him, right? And I mean, but the choice was to let them shut down the government entirely.
Well, the American people would have really seen that, hey, I mean, because at the end of the day, if the government shuts down entirely, it's affecting everybody, every single person. So you still have these MAGA lover people like, oh no, give them a shot. And yeah, they probably still initially would have blamed Democrats, but they would still see the true horns behind this administration.
It wasn't the time for it, because also it's too close to the last administration. So anything that went wrong, it would have been Biden's fault. Now, the next time we have the same fight where this guy's been in office for this long and then it shuts down, then the American people can't say, well, the last guy, he's still moving furniture. Right?
What do you guys think? Do you think that Schumer did the right thing? Or do you think they should have just say, you know what? Balls to the walls.
No. You can't negotiate with somebody that is wearing a bomb. Like that's what we're doing. You're like, hey, don't die. We don't want you to die. They're like, I'm wearing a bomb. Do you think I'm doing this for fun?
You
It's
got
like,
somebody that came in. No. Well, let's just do this. Wait. Go ahead. So do this one.
so Earl said there are 700,000 illegal immigrants from India here. Don't hear about them in the news. So there's that. So Alistair said, in addition to the point Liz made, imagine the Proud Boys or some other groups start doing the same thing and randomly going after people to abduct them, claiming to be law enforcement or ICE.
You know what? I believe that we're on the cusp of that, making citizen arrests. There was a video clip of some Spanish men in a car, and the guy was leaning in. He said, "Hey, I called the cops. You're not going nowhere." Took the keys right out of the thing, you know. And there definitely was an English barrier, language barrier there. So they were kind of looking startled, and he pulled. I mean, of course, they were able to get the keys back, and they left, whatever. But he was making a citizen's arrest. So you have these cowboys you know, saying, "Hey, we're going to take it upon ourselves. We're going to deputize ourselves." And
happening at colleges where you have students reporting other students. So even if you're not online, you're not on social media, you don't have any posts or anything, but you're gathered with a group of 5 friends. One of those 5 friends could be snitching, and so you know what? So and so doesn't have a favor over you, and they're reporting them. And those people are getting either their visas revoked or getting snatched up by ICE and everything else. That's actually happening. That's not about to happen. That is happening. There are students reporting students, and those people are getting picked up.
wow.
So, craziness. So Sandy said, if the government would have shut down, so would the courts that is upholding the Constitution currently. They're trying.
Are they upholding the Constitution?
They are trying like hell. They keep telling her everything.
I'm going like this for every question. Like
they are doing their part, right? But you have a man in office that going Constitution. What Constitution? Judge, fuck them, impeach them. That's where we are.
I mean, well, once again, the reason why I say are they upholding the Constitution, because if a judge said, "Hey, I'm holding you in contempt, Kia, I need you to report here, blah blah blah." If I do not do that, they would send law enforcement and apprehend me. That's normally what happens. If I leave the area, then they go ahead and they have a warrant out for my arrest, and you'll see me running in the streets. but in this situation, they're holding people in contempt. They're saying, "Hey, this is in violation." They're saying, "Hey, explain yourself. Hey, this. And the other side, the federal government, is not responding. How can you hold someone accountable if they're not responding to you? What the hell you want to do? Who's locking up the president? Who's locking up the House Speaker? Who is locking up any of these people?
Right.
So am I actually holding up the Constitution?
They are, and eventually it does still have to go to the Supreme Court. The question that I have is the same question that you're asking. So we're both asking the same question. So he doesn't do it, and then what?
Yeah. He's basically saying y'all need to kick rocks.
And then what, right? And so Cash said there are 250 Democrat lawmakers that thought one way, but I guess the 10 knew more than everybody else. Now, here I go. Devil's advocate tonight, right? I do so, you know what? I appreciate the 10 that dissented. Why? Because that shows that some people are still capable of free will and free thought. And people are elected by their specific districts, right? We don't vote nationally for senators and so on and so forth, right? They should be representing their counties and their districts and their state's best interests, and not everybody else's. So you should, in fact, vote your conscience. Now, here's what I'm going to say about that with Democrats. I don't have a problem with those 10 doing it. I just wish the fucking Republicans could do it too. Because if you think for 1 minute that all the Republicans are in line with MAGA and what's going on right now, they're not. And finally, you mentioned Rand Paul. Believe it or not, Ted Cruz found one ball.
Yeah, Ted
Cruz found one of his balls. He's still looking for the other one. It's rolling around someplace. But he did find one and looked it up this week and actually said something like, yo, he's going to give it a couple of days, but in 60 or 90 days, if we're still doing this tariff bullshit, it's going to be a problem. That's the first time I've heard him say anything, even think about saying anything.
Yeah, he didn't even, protect his wife from being called ugly. That's tariff thing.
So if we could just get 10 Republicans and then 20 and then 30, because the majority of them do not support this bullshit. They've had themselves cut off. Their power is gone. It's been stripped from them. Nobody ran for office because they did not want power. people that run for office, generally speaking, have big egos and they want power.
So I pose the question to the audience that's listening. Do you feel that we're just kind of stuck until time comes to, vote again? But they are looking at ways for Donald Trump to run a third time. Somebody threw out like, hey, Barack Obama, if you could run, then, he said, well, that'd be a good matchup. I think it would be a great matchup, actually. I think Barack Obama, if he ran, he would wipe the floor with Donald Trump. But I don't think that Donald Trump, would he be the oldest? How old do you think? How old is Donald Trump right now? In his 70s. I know he's in his 70s, right?
I know more about him than I need to know, honestly.
His birthday's in June.
8 years old, by the way. So 78.
So he definitely will be in his 80s, next time around if he runs for the third time. I mean, at the end of the day, what is the solution? Because the country is getting more and more divided. Things are happening in real time. So what is the solution? Are we stuck until it's time to vote again?
I don't think that we're stuck. I do think that so I had somebody that can't comment tonight because he's driving, but he did send me that it's something like $132 trillion were lost in 3 months or something along those lines. We're talking trillions, not billions at this point. There's only so much that we can hemorrhage money before it becomes a problem even for rich people. Right? Maybe they don't have 401ks, but they certainly do own the companies that are losing the money. And so there's only so much that we can fall before something has to happen on that side of things, right? Additionally, you have too many people taken to the streets in every single state, single state. And enough Republicans are peeling off. How do I know that? We just had a special election here in Florida. I'm sure you guys heard about it. It was Wisconsin and it was Florida. And one of them was a district in which I live. And let me tell you, driving around town, it has always been Trump flags everywhere where I live. It's sad, it's disheartening. It's Trump flags and Confederate flags. And then there's a small little pocket that I'm in, that's the suburbs. And then shortly, if you travel outside of that, you're with the Hicks. And that's just what it is, right? Volusia County specifically actually kind of did the right thing. It was because we're in one of these gerrymandered weird districts that incorporates a lot of different counties. We still, of course, were outnumbered because that's what gerrymandering will do. And the Republican did win, but by half the margin Donald Trump won by. They did not do it because there were more Democrats. They did that because Republicans are in fact turning. Right? A lot of these policies are hurting and affecting them. A lot of people that are losing their job in government are Republicans. A lot of the farmers that are being affected by these tariffs are Republicans. A lot of these business owners are Republicans. A lot of people that are going to get laid off because of the businesses being able to stay in business are Republican. And you know, they're fickle as hell. And so they're going to come over to this side. And this can only last for but so long.
Well, I'll say this. Unfortunately, when you have locations where even the governor's like, you know what, you could kick rocks, Donald Trump. You know, he's making sure that he's withholding funds for the state, example, Maine. And if you want to come back to my good graces, you have to literally kiss the ring. You know, he says he wants a formal apology, you know, with the bells and whistles on it. So, it's funny because on one end, it looks like, well, you know what, you don't need him. You know, use the tax money into the state to do what you got to do to fund stuff. We're not kissing the ring. We're fighting back, whatever. But then you have some things that happen like natural catastrophes and stuff. And then you need that federal aid. You know, you need those things. So then you're right back looking at his ass. So, you're kind of stuck in some situations.
You guys remember that back and forth where he had with the governor, as a female governor? Is it Maine?
Yes.
So immediately, I don't know if you guys have been following this either, immediately what they did, because there's things on the state level that he can't control, but there's things on the federal level that he can control. Mm-hmm. And he immediately changed all the rules of Social Security specifically just for that state. Are you familiar with that? So yep. People that were having babies in the hospital, usually you have a baby and you can register them right then and there for their Social Security card and their birth certificate. Well, the people of Maine were no longer allowed to get a Social Security card. So you have newborn moms, like just postpartum moms with their newborns having to go out in the winter. He did this in February in Maine, right?
Mhm.
Which is Arctic type weather up there, and had these people having to get to the Social Security office to punish the governor. Like those are
But he did make an open statement and say, if you are wanting this to change, you have to do a formal open apology. Like he has been, like literally kissed the ring. So we can see he wants his balls shined.
They did walk it back. They stopped it, but they did it for a while, right? And so Sandy said, if there is a vote with the way things are going, and if Trump had his way, you won't have to vote anymore, like he said in his campaign. And he did say that during his campaign. He said, vote for me this time. You'll never have to vote for me again.
He did say that. Thank you for reminding me. He did say that, and it's funny because a lot of people want to hold their representative, the politician, accountable. Like, hey, you said you was going to do this and this, and it didn't get done. And I have to be honestly say that everything that he said that he was going to be doing, he's doing. This is, even if you don't like him or not, this is a politician that is standing on his business when he's like slash. Now, he didn't say how he was going to do it.
Right. Well,
he didn't say it was going to
be things that they don't like when he said he was going to do it. They were like, oh, Donald, he's just joking. So in other words, when people say that, it's because I don't agree with that, but he won't really do that. So now that he's doing it, he's just like, I said I would, and I'm doing it. Those same people are just silent. Like, where you at? I thought you said he wasn't really going to do that. You wouldn't vote for somebody that would really do that, would you?
Let me ask you this question. About freedom of speech, because we have Pamela Bond. Is it Bondi?
Yeah, Bondi. Yeah.
Yeah. She ended up telling Crockett to tread lightly because she's saying a lot of different things that are raising eyebrows and are not warranted. From the administration. Since we are in a time where you have to be mindful of the words that you say, or you can be looked at, how does that make you feel? How does that make the audience feel? How does it make you feel that you're kind of, based on you can't go to that protest, you don't want to, what happens then?
It's pretty bad. Like, things are really, really bad. I think that people on both sides are sitting around waiting for, somebody to declare that he's a dictator, for himself to declare that he's a dictator or an authoritarian ruler or whatever it is. What would it take for us to realize that that's where we are? Even with the recession, people wait for the day that the news puts it on a banner, it's officially a recession. What would it take, right? Gas is already going up. Grocery is already completely unaffordable. People are paralyzed in their homes, as in they can't move. So if you wanted to go buy a house right now, you don't know what to do. Interest rates crazy. You don't know if they're going to build a house. You don't know. You could sell your house, and before you get the keys to the next house, everything falls through. Now, where's your family? You don't know if you're going to have a job tomorrow. There's way too much uncertainty, and that's not like hyperbole or fair speaking. That's reality. You're an idiot if you're making moves in another direction, right? You're also pretty stupid if you're still spending money on these junket vacations. That 10-day cruise, or that 2 weeks in Europe, or whatever the case is. Cancel that shit. Save your money. Like, things are really bad right now, and if you're waiting for somebody. Okay, make it economically friendly, Kia. Also,
no.
Take your phone so that they don't take it and they don't go through it.
I'll say this. No. And all jokes aside, I laugh now like I'm going on my cruise. But for somebody like me, I run my fucking mouth. I've always ran my mouth. I'm a Gemini. You're a Gemini. We love communication. We just be talking and chatting and shooting the shit. And it could be about substance, or it could be about, just cracking them jokes. But at the end of the day, I talk my shit, Yeah. And for somebody to tell you can't talk about something, for somebody to say, hey, we're going to grab you up and throw you over here because you can't, is definitely very challenging. I did want to.
Your man's is a Gemini too.
You know what? But he's not our type of Gemini. So stop.
No, he's a male Gemini, and they've always been crazy. That's what it is.
But I did have a question, and the question that I had for myself is, what is it going to take for some shit to actually change? So I asked Cash if he could bring this information for me. So thank you, Cash.
So we got from 1963 to 2022. Here is how wealth has grown. The bottom 10% is negative $23 to $450, and that's what they're worth, right? As in their household value. The middle is 50%, which is 50,598 to 192,700. The top 10% went from $294,573 to 1.9 million, and the top 1% is 1.8 to 13.6 million dollars.
And then he says,
all of the gains are being funneled to the top.
So I personally feel that when these tariffs really go into effect and we, the consumer, start to see it, we, the consumer, because if you notice when it comes to buying products as, you know, items on Amazon, it could be the crew, it could be whatever you want to buy. There's a thing that says pay now, pay later, you know, Affirm. You could put everything on layaway, anything, you know, whatever that is.
DoorDash, your lunch.
Yes, you can put your lunch on layaway. I mean, and everyone's making a nickel and a dime off of somebody. But I think that we, the people, when we finally realize what Bernie Sanders, and I know some people hate Bernie Sanders and AOC, but when they're expressing in regards to the actual gains of what the 1% and how the average Joe is not making any money. The average Joe is still feeling the brunt of everything. And I think that since money does talk, right, that when we start really feeling that pinch that you were talking about, and you can't pay that rent, and you're getting evicted, and you got these bills and bad credit. Let me tell you something that Kushner did. So Kushner is related to Donald Trump by an in-law. And a lot of people don't talk about him, but I don't personally like the guy because he ended up taking over the housing industry. And what I mean by that, taking over the housing industry, is this is a man that went into a lot of the homes in New York and was like, you know what, no more rent control. Oh, you said you was paying $600 a month for this, but no. And a lot of people fought back, right? This is our right. These are our contracts. You're not going to just come in here and privatize this and make your way. He forcibly found things to get these people out. He went into he bought the next apartment and he put fumes to go into your home. He ended up making bad noises to disturb the elderly, all different types of things. And when you were late on a payment, if you happened to be, he would take you to court to actually press criminal charges. He did a lot of gruesome things to people because of the fact that he just wanted to get a little extra money. I think that when a lot of our elders and a lot of people that we know are going to feel the pain, that's when we're going to really, really, really take it to the streets and hold both parties accountable. We should never have ever had a two-party system where we're just stuck with this and stuck with that, and now we're just all screwed. We should literally hold these people accountable for our best interests because we put them in office. And I really think this is what is going to have to wake people up so we can actually have some type of difference. Because if you don't see, these people are getting richer and richer. They feel like we should be servants. They feel that these jobs are servitude type jobs and we need to work for them. And, you know, they're up on there's a monarchy, you know, they're on the throne looking down at us. So I really feel that that's what's going to have to change. I do love, you know, Hakeem Jeffries. You know, he stood up there and did that filibuster. I wonder how he did it.
Cory Booker did the filibuster.
Cory Booker, yeah, thank you, Cory Booker. Thank you. And I'm so glad that he did that, you know, but at the same breath, it's like we need more than that. We do need more. I wouldn't have stood up for that long, so I do give him his props for that. But at the same time, we do need more than just people talking and just writing letters. And he was reading them out loud. People, you know, feeling the pain. We need to take to the streets in a peaceful way. You got to say that because somebody might come through.
When you say that, let's be peaceful.
Yeah. Somebody may say, aha, kid, you're starting a riot. But go ahead.
So, this last words of the list is kind of heavy tonight, I gotta say, right? There's so many things that I really care about. We didn't even really kind of get to it. There were two gentlemen that were detained that were just picked up on accident. One's getting more press than the other one, depends on which channel you're watching. If you're watching Fox News, the only one they're talking about is there's a very young, he's like a gay makeup artist. And they're making it sound like it was a mistake and we're not going to move mountains to get this gay guy back. He's probably having a blast in that prison in El Salvador. That's the thing that they said on Fox News. I want you to think of a 20-something-year-old, very pretty makeup artist that had no idea it was coming, just being picked up and sent to that prison, regardless of how you feel. I don't think he's having a blast. And I think that if it was your brother, your son, your uncle, whatever, I don't think that you would feel the same way. I don't think it's a mistake that you'd be willing to forgive and to sweep under the rug. The other one, if you're watching the left side of the news that they're talking about, he's a legal resident. As far as I know, he's a green card holder. He's married to an American woman. They have an American child, a young child. He has no criminal background. Neither of these two men have a criminal background at all. Not at all. They got picked up and sent to El Salvador. Now the U.S. government is claiming that we have no way of getting them back. That's weird. We can get prisoners out of Russia. We can shoot Osama in his house when he's watching his girlfriend. But we can't get people that we put on a plane last week and sent to a prison exactly where we know they are without a whole military operation. I call bullshit. And for people that think that this does not affect you, or if you do not care about like Hispanic people getting picked up and rounded up in this way or anything like that, I'm here to tell you that it's them today. It will be us tomorrow. It'll be your kids tomorrow. It'll be you. It'll be your coworkers. It will be people that you care about. So please stop not caring about this. It's really important. These people are being picked up for no reason, and they're doing it to see what they can get away with. I told you last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about this, it's kind of like that test that product on a spot on your skin before you apply it everywhere. That is what they're doing. They're testing it on these people to see if they can get away with it and how far they can go. They're getting away with it. They're going to go further. We are next. Trust me when I say that. So I thought that was important enough to mention. Shout out to Cory Booker, big time. That was huge. I'm happy, if nothing else. I mean, he said so many important things, but also he swept Strom Thurmond out of history. Finally, he does not hold a record for that anymore. If you don't know who he is, he's a segregationist that previously held the record, and that was his space in history, and now it's gone. So that's wonderful. But a lot of things that he said were extremely, extremely important. And if you didn't watch any part of the speech, get the Cliff Notes. It's worthy of at least reading through it or listening through it or however it is that you consume news. The other person I want to shout out is Josh Wheel, which most people on this show won't know his name, but he is actually the Floridian that ran for that District 6 seat. White guy from I want to say he's from Florida. He went to school in UCF. He's 40 years old. He is a math teacher. He has been teaching math for the last 10 years. And he did something that I've always spoken about. He doesn't just talk about it, he was about it. He got out there, he decided that he wanted to do something, and he put his name on the ballot and he ran. And he ran a hell of a campaign. He did not win, but the fact is you got this 40-year-old math teacher that tried to do something. And if more of us had the heart, the balls, the courage to do so, he's not a millionaire, he's not from a wealthy family. He's just a teacher that felt compelled to do something. And so for that, he also gets a shout out this week. We got another comment just running in. So Cash said, yep, we see how Bush got away with disappearing Muslims, and that continues to expand. We have real problems. We cannot afford to be asleep. I know they say that woke is has been taken over by other people. Be whatever it is that you want to be. Just don't be comatose. This is no time to turn off to tune out what's going on. We got to get engaged. I know that you usually can't see my seat. I'm going to do something dangerous and stand up here, but it says, warning, free thinkers will be dealt with. All right. So, last note, and I promise you I'll leave it on this. If you guys know a deserving college student, I am looking to pay for their books to help them with staying in school. We are committed to and invested in our community. If we don't do it, no one else will. We know that the cost of everything is going up. If we have a young scholar that's out there, they don't have to have the best grades or anything. I don't need the craziest story. We are raising funds. So far, we are at about $450 is what we've raised towards helping these kids pay for their books. If you can, visit the website. If you want, reach out to me directly, and that way Etsy doesn't get a part of my proceeds, right? But please, guys, if you pay for these t-shirts, I don't take a single dollar in profit from the shirts. I do want somebody to be nominated. I know one person kind of floated it to me. I told him, write me a letter. So we'll see. But I am so excited.
Yeah, and it is interesting by hearing you talk about that in books. It just came to my mind. The federal agency, they just tried to, well, they did ban "Why the Cage Bird Sings" by Dr. Maya Angelou, and I'm like, wait a second, why would you, what,
it's a very
wow.
offensive. I don't know.
Wow, because the actual, yeah, it's poetry, it's metaphors, it's, wow. So you're just taking everything out of the library, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I promise you, we won't be back next weekend, but the weekend after that, and there'll be like 20 other things that come off this bullshit.
Yeah, there's too much.
If y'all don't see me, I promise I hope I didn't get grabbed up in Louisiana or Mississippi. I have seen some crazy. No, I have seen some people say some crazy shit, and I'm like, ooh. But yeah, just pray for me in my mouth because I be saying some shit. But we love you guys. Please, please, please. I think. Wait, Easter Sunday's when?
That is the 20th. So we'll figure out our dates.
We'll work it out.
Well, like, subscribe, and share. Have a beautiful rest.
Yes. Have a great evening. Love you guys. Bye.